Let me show you something honestly. Something that might change the way you see your English forever. Right now, when you try to speak English, you don't actually struggle with English. You struggle with what happens before you speak. Because the moment you open your mouth, your mind stops you. It tells you to wait, to think, to fix the sentence first. So instead of speaking, you start building, word by word, checking grammar, translating, trying to make it perfect. And in that moment, your confidence disappears. Your speed disappears. And the conversation moves on. Without you. This is why you feel stuck. Not because you don't know English, but because you've trained your brain to stop your voice. And today, we're going to break that habit completely. Right now, you truly believe you are practicing speaking English. But if you look closely at what is happening inside your mind, you will notice something very different. Before any word comes out of your mouth, there is a long process happening silently. You don't just speak. You stop. You search. You choose words one by one, and then you try to arrange them in the correct order. It feels like you are solving a small puzzle every time you want to say something. First, you think of an idea in your own language. Then you try to convert it into English. Then you start picking words. Then you check if the sentence sounds correct. Then you fix it again and again before you even open your mouth. And all of this happens in just a few seconds. But those few seconds are enough to break your flow completely. Because speaking is not meant to feel heavy like this. Think about how you speak in your own language. You don't build sentences step by step. You don't stop and check grammar. You don't translate your thoughts. You simply speak. The words come out naturally, almost automatically, without effort. That is real speaking. But in English, you have turned something natural into something mechanical. You are treating language like a construction project, where every sentence needs planning, checking, and fixing before it can be used. And because of that, your speaking becomes slow. Your voice loses confidence. Your thoughts get interrupted. And instead of expressing yourself freely, you start feeling pressure every time you want to say something. You become more focused on being correct than being understood. And this is where the real problem begins. Because communication is not about perfect sentences. It is about connection. It is about expressing your idea, even if it is simple, even if it is not perfect. But when you keep building sentences in your head, you create a gap between your thoughts and your voice. Your mind moves fast, but your speaking becomes slow, and that gap is what makes you feel stuck. You know what you want to say, but you cannot say it in time. You have the words, but you cannot release them naturally. And slowly, this habit makes you doubt yourself. You start thinking you are not fluent, when in reality, you are just overbuilding everything. The truth is simple. The more you try to build your sentences, the more you block your natural speaking ability. And the moment you stop building, even a little, you will start feeling something different. Your speech will feel lighter. Your words will come out faster. And for the first time, you will feel like you are actually speaking, not constructing. Your biggest problem is not that you don't know English. It's that your mind does not let you use it in time. There is a silent delay happening between your thought and your voice. And that delay is slowing everything down. Before you say even a simple word, your brain steps in. It starts checking, adjusting, correcting, trying to make everything sound right. And in that moment, your natural response disappears. You already understand what you want to say. The idea is clear in your mind. The words are somewhere inside you. But instead of letting them come out, your brain holds them back. It wants to be sure. It wants to be correct. It wants to avoid mistakes. And because of that,
You pause. You pause before answering simple questions. You pause before saying basic sentences. You pause even when the conversation is easy, and these small pauses start becoming a habit. At first, it feels like you are just thinking carefully, but slowly, it turns into hesitation. Then hesitation turns into fear, and fear turns into silence. You start feeling slow, not because you are slow, but because your mind is interrupting your natural speed. Think about this carefully. When someone speaks to you, your understanding is instant. You don't take time to understand basic English. But when it's your turn to speak, suddenly everything becomes heavy. Why? Because your brain switches from understanding mode to control mode. Instead of letting you respond, it tries to manage every word. And that control is the real problem, because speaking is not something that needs control. It needs flow. It needs trust. It needs speed. But your brain has been trained to slow everything down in the name of being correct. And this creates a dangerous illusion. You start believing that you are not fluent because you cannot respond quickly. But the truth is, fluency is already inside you. It's just being delayed. Your mind is like a gate, standing between your thoughts and your voice. And every time you try to speak, that gate opens too slowly. By the time your words are ready, the moment has already passed. The conversation has moved forward, and you are left feeling behind. Over time, this feeling becomes your identity.
You start saying things like, "I understand, but I can't speak." But what you really mean is, "I understand, but my mind won't let me speak fast enough." And that is a completely different problem, because this is not a knowledge issue. This is a speed issue. And speed is not built by thinking more. It is built by thinking less. The moment your brain stops trying to control everything, your natural speaking speed will return. Your words will come out faster. Your pauses will disappear. Your confidence will rise. But for that to happen, you have to stop giving your mind so much power over your voice. Because right now, your mind is not helping you speak. It is slowing you down. You believe that thinking before speaking is helping you. But in reality, it is quietly holding you back.
Every time you are about to say something, your mind steps in and says, "Wait. Think first." And in that small moment, everything changes. Instead of speaking naturally, you start analyzing. You begin to question your words. You start checking your sentence. You try to make everything sound perfect before it even comes out. It feels like you are preparing yourself, but what you are actually doing is slowing yourself down. Because the more you think, the more pressure you create. And the more pressure you create, the harder it becomes to speak. At first, it may seem harmless. You think, "I just need 1 second to organize my sentence." But that 1 second slowly becomes 2, then 3, then even longer. And soon, even simple sentences feel heavy. You start overthinking things that should be automatic.
Basic answers begin to feel complicated. Small conversations start to feel stressful. And without realizing it, you begin to lose trust in your own voice. Think about how natural speaking really works. When you are relaxed, when you are not thinking too much, words come easily. Your mind is quiet. Your response is instant. Your speech feels smooth. But the moment you start thinking too much, that natural flow breaks. Your mind becomes noisy. Your confidence drops. Your speech becomes slow and uncertain. And this is where most people get stuck. They believe the solution is to think more, to prepare more, to be more careful. But that only makes the problem worse, because speaking is not something you improve by thinking. It is something you improve by allowing. Allowing your words to come out, even if they are not perfect.
allowing yourself to make small mistakes without stopping, allowing your voice to move faster than your mind. Right now, your mind is trying to control every word. It wants everything to be right. But that control is the exact reason you feel stuck. Because real speaking does not come from control. It comes from trust. Trusting that what you know is enough. Trusting that your words will come. Trusting that you don't need to check everything before you speak. The moment you reduce thinking, even a little, something powerful happens. Your speech becomes lighter. Your pauses become shorter. Your confidence begins to rise. And slowly, you start feeling something new. You start feeling free. Not because your English suddenly became perfect, but because you stopped overthinking every word. The truth is simple.
You don't struggle because you don't know English. You struggle because you think too much before using it. And the moment you learn to let go of that constant thinking, your natural speaking ability will begin to come back, one word at a time. There is something happening inside your mind that you don't even notice, but it is quietly slowing your speaking every single day. Before you speak in English, you first think in your own language. Your idea is clear, your message is ready, but it is not in English yet, so your brain begins a hidden process. It takes your thought and starts converting it. Word by word, slowly trying to find the right English version. You search for vocabulary, you try to match meanings, you adjust the sentence so it sounds correct, and only after all of that, you finally speak.
It feels normal, because you have been doing this for a long time. But this habit is one of the biggest reasons you cannot speak naturally. Because real conversation does not wait for translation. People don't pause while you convert your thoughts. Moments don't slow down so you can prepare your sentence. Everything is moving fast. But your mind is stuck in this slow process. And because of that, you always feel one step behind. Think about it carefully. When you listen to English, you don't translate every word. You understand directly. Your brain already knows the meaning, but when it's your turn to speak, you go back to your own language. You take a simple idea and turn it into a long process. And that process creates delay. It creates hesitation. It creates pressure. And slowly, it breaks your natural speaking flow.
You start feeling like English is difficult, when in reality, you are just making it heavier than it needs to be. Because translation adds an extra step, and that extra step is what slows everything down. Fluent speakers don't translate. They don't think in one language and speak in another. They think directly in English, even if it is simple, even if it is not perfect. Their thoughts are already in the language, so their speaking is instant. But you are still standing between two languages. Your mind is moving here, and your voice is trying to move there. And that gap is what creates struggle. It makes your speech feel unnatural. It makes your confidence drop. It makes every sentence feel like work. But the truth is, speaking is not supposed to feel like work. It is supposed to feel like expression.
And expression cannot flow when translation is in the middle. The moment you start letting go of translation, even a little, you will notice a shift. Your mind will feel lighter. Your response will become faster. Your words will come out more naturally. You may not be perfect, but you will be real. And that is what matters. Because fluency is not about perfect sentences. It is about direct connection between your thought and your voice. And the more you remove translation from that path, the closer you get to speaking freely, without effort, without delay, without fear. You have been taught something that sounds logical, but is quietly holding you back. You were told that before you speak, you must make sure your grammar is correct. So now, every time you open your mouth, your brain starts checking rules. Is this tense right? Is this sentence correct? Should I say it this way or that way? And while your mind is busy checking all of this, your voice is waiting. This is where your flow breaks. Because speaking is not meant to start with rules. Speaking is meant to start with expression. Think about how a child learns to speak. They don't know grammar. They don't understand rules. They don't think about tenses, but they still speak. They speak freely, naturally, without fear. And over time, their grammar improves automatically. But you are doing the opposite. You are waiting to be correct before allowing yourself to speak. And that waiting is slowing you down. It creates pressure inside you. It makes every sentence feel like a test. And when speaking starts to feel like a test, your confidence begins to disappear. You become careful.
You become quiet. You start holding your words instead of expressing them. And this is where many people get stuck for years. They keep learning more grammar. They keep studying more rules. But their speaking does not improve, because knowledge is not the problem. Usage is. You already know more grammar than you think. You have learned enough rules to communicate. But your mind does not trust it. It keeps stopping you, asking you to be sure, asking you to be perfect. And that constant checking is what blocks your natural speaking ability. Fluent speakers don't go through this process. They don't pause to remember rules. They don't stop to analyze structure. They speak first. And if something is not perfect, it adjusts naturally over time. Because fluency grows through use, not through control. The more you speak, the more your brain learns what sounds right. The more you express, the more your grammar improves on its own. But if you keep waiting for perfect grammar before speaking, you will always stay behind. Because perfection is slow, and speaking needs speed. It needs movement. It needs flow. The moment you stop putting grammar first, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes lighter. Your speech becomes faster. Your confidence begins to rise. You start focusing on meaning instead of rules. And that shift changes everything. Because language is not about being correct all the time. It is about being understood. It is about sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your voice. And when you allow yourself to speak without overchecking, you finally give your voice the freedom it needs. Not perfect, not polished, but real. And that is where true fluency begins. There is a simple truth about speaking that most people never understand. And until you understand it, everything will continue to feel difficult. Speaking is not something you build step by step. It is something that happens instantly. It is a reaction. The moment someone asks you something, your response should come naturally, without pressure, without delay. But right now, that is not happening for you. Because instead of reacting, you are processing. You hear something, and instead of responding, your mind goes into work mode. It starts organizing words. It starts forming sentences. It starts checking everything before allowing you to speak. And in that moment, your natural reaction disappears. You turn a simple response into a slow process.
And this is why conversations feel hard. Because real conversations move fast. They don't wait for you to prepare. They don't pause for your thinking. They flow. But your speaking cannot flow because your mind is interrupting every response. Think about how you react in your own language. If someone says something surprising, you respond instantly. If someone asks a question, the answer comes out without effort. You don't stop to build it. You don't calculate it. You don't prepare it. You just react. That is real speaking. That is natural communication. But in English, you have disconnected from that natural ability. You are trying to control something that is meant to be automatic. You are turning reaction into calculation. And calculation is always slow. The more you calculate, the more you hesitate. The more you hesitate, the more you lose confidence. And slowly, speaking starts to feel unnatural. It starts to feel like work, instead of expression. But the truth is, your brain already knows how to react. It does it every day in your own language. That ability is still inside you. It is not gone. It is just blocked. Blocked by overthinking. Blocked by fear of mistakes. Blocked by the habit of building instead of responding. And the moment you begin to shift from processing to reacting, everything starts to change. Your speech becomes faster. Your words come out more freely. Your mind becomes quieter. You stop trying to control every word, and you start trusting your natural response. Even if your sentence is simple, it feels alive. Even if it is not perfect, it feels real. And that is what matters. Because communication is not about perfect structure. It is about real-time connection. It is about being present in the moment and responding without delay. The more you train yourself to react, instead of process, the closer you get to real fluency. Not slow fluency, not forced fluency, but natural, effortless, real speaking. And once you feel that shift, even for a moment, you will realize something powerful. Speaking was never meant to be difficult. It only became difficult when you stopped reacting and started overthinking every word. There is something inside you that feels small, almost invisible, but it is controlling the way you speak more than anything else. It is the need to be perfect. Every time you try to speak, this quiet pressure appears. You want your sentence to sound right. You want your grammar to be correct. You don't want to make mistakes. And because of that, you slow yourself down. You don't say the first thing that comes to your mind. You stop it. You adjust it. You try to improve it before anyone even hears it. And in that moment, your natural voice disappears. What could have been simple becomes heavy. What could have been quick becomes delayed. And what could have been confident becomes uncertain. This need for perfection feels like a good thing. It feels like you are trying to improve. It feels like you are being careful. But in speaking, perfection is not strength. It is pressure. And that pressure changes everything. It makes you afraid of small mistakes. It makes you overthink every word. It makes you hesitate, even in easy situations. You start choosing silence instead of risk. Because speaking imperfectly feels uncomfortable. But staying silent feels safe. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to limit yourself. You stop participating in conversations. You avoid speaking when you have something to say. You hold your ideas inside, even when you know them clearly, all because you want to say it perfectly. But here's the truth most people don't understand. Fluent speakers are not perfect speakers. They make mistakes. They forget words. They sometimes say things in a simple or incomplete way, but they keep speaking. They don't stop their flow just to fix every detail. They focus on expressing, not impressing. And that is why they sound natural. Because natural speaking is not about perfection. It is about freedom. Freedom to say what you feel. Freedom to use simple words. Freedom to continue, even if something is not perfect. But when you hold on to perfection, you lose that freedom. Your mind becomes tight. Your speech becomes restricted. Your confidence begins to drop. And the more you try to be perfect, the more difficult speaking becomes. This is the trap. You think perfection will make you better. But in reality, it is keeping you stuck. Because fluency grows in movement, in imperfect sentences, in quick responses, in real conversations, not in perfect preparation. The moment you let go of this need, even a little, you will feel a shift. Your words will come out faster. Your mind will feel lighter. Your voice will feel more natural. You will start speaking more without stopping yourself. And slowly, your confidence will grow. Not because you became perfect, but because you allowed yourself to be imperfect and kept going anyway. And that is the real turning point. Because the moment you stop chasing perfection, you finally give yourself permission to speak. And when you give yourself that permission, your voice begins to come alive again. There is a belief inside you that sounds very convincing, but it is quietly making your speaking harder than it needs to be. You believe that to sound fluent, you need long sentences. You believe you need advanced words. You believe your English must sound impressive. And because of that, every time you speak, you try to make your sentences bigger. You try to add more words. You try to make it sound more complete. You try to say everything perfectly in one go. But this effort is exactly what slows you down. Because the longer your sentence becomes, the more your brain has to think. The more your brain thinks, the more you hesitate. And the more you hesitate, the more your confidence drops. What started as a simple idea turns into something heavy. And suddenly, even speaking becomes tiring. But here is the truth that can change everything for you. Fluent speakers do not use complicated English all the time. They use simple English, most of the time. They say things in short, clear, natural ways. Instead of trying to sound advanced, they focus on being understood. Instead of building long sentences, they break their thoughts into small parts. And that is why they sound fast. That is why they sound relaxed. That is why they sound natural. Because simplicity creates speed, and speed creates flow.
Right now, you are trying to jump to a level that even fluent speakers don't use in everyday conversation. You are making your speaking harder by trying to make it better. But better does not mean longer. Better does not mean more complex. Better means clearer. Better means easier. Better means natural. Think about how real conversations happen. People don't speak in perfect paragraphs. They speak in small pieces, short sentences, simple words, clear ideas. And those small pieces connect naturally, without effort. But when you try to say everything in one perfect sentence, you create pressure. You give your brain too much to handle at once. And that is when your flow breaks. You stop, you think, you fix, and by the time you are ready, the moment is gone.
But when you allow yourself to speak simply, something powerful happens. Your mind relaxes. Your words come out faster. Your confidence increases because you are no longer struggling to be perfect. You are just expressing. Even if your sentence is small, it moves forward. Even if your words are basic, they are clear. And clarity is what communication needs, not complexity. The moment you accept simple English, you remove a huge weight from your mind. You stop trying to impress. You start trying to express. And that shift changes everything. Your speaking becomes lighter. Your speed improves. Your hesitation begins to disappear. And slowly, you realize something important. Fluency was never about using big words. It was always about speaking freely, without pressure, without fear, without overthinking. And that freedom begins the moment you allow yourself to keep it simple and just speak. There is a common belief that sounds very logical, but it is the reason many people stay stuck for years. You think you need to be accurate first, and then speed will come later. So every time you speak, your focus is on saying everything correctly. You slow down your speech, you check every word, you try to make sure nothing is wrong, And because of that, your speaking becomes careful, controlled, and very slow. It feels like you are improving, but in reality, you are training your brain to depend on thinking. And that is the problem. Because fluency is not built on accuracy first. It is built on speed first. Think about how natural speaking works. When someone speaks fluently, their words come out quickly. They don't stop after every word. They don't pause to check every sentence. They move forward, even if something is not perfect. That movement, that speed, is what creates flow. And once that flow exists, accuracy improves naturally over time. But you are doing the opposite. You are trying to be perfect before you become fast. And that creates a constant delay. Your brain gets used to stopping. It gets used to checking. It gets used to slowing everything down. So even when you know the sentence, you cannot say it quickly. Because your mind is trained to wait, and that waiting becomes your habit. Over time, you begin to feel like speaking is difficult. You feel like you are not fluent. But the truth is, you are just not fast yet. And speed does not come from thinking more. It comes from allowing your words to move freely.
Even if they are not perfect, even if they are simple, even if they have small mistakes. Because those small imperfections are part of the learning process. They are not a sign of failure. They are a sign that you are actually using the language. Right now, your brain is trying to protect you from mistakes. But in doing that, it is also stopping your progress. Because without speed, there is no flow. And without flow, there is no confidence. The moment you shift your focus, everything begins to change. Instead of asking, "Is this correct?" you start asking, "Can I say this quickly?" Instead of stopping to fix, you keep moving forward. Instead of slowing down, you allow yourself to speak faster, even if it feels messy at first. And in that mess, something powerful starts to grow. Your brain adapts. Your responses become quicker. Your pauses become shorter. Your confidence begins to rise. Because you are no longer stuck in constant thinking. You are moving. You are expressing. You are speaking. And slowly, accuracy starts improving on its own. Because your brain begins to recognize patterns without forcing them. It learns through use, not through control. That is how real fluency is built. Not by waiting to be perfect, but by allowing yourself to be fast. Because speed creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. And confidence is what finally allows your English to come out naturally, without effort, without fear, without stopping yourself every second. There is something you keep telling yourself. Something that feels true, but is quietly keeping you stuck. You believe you need more knowledge, more vocabulary, more grammar rules, more practice exercises. So you keep learning. You watch videos, you memorize words, you study structures, and for a moment, it feels like you are improving. But when it's time to speak, nothing really changes. You still hesitate, you still overthink, you still struggle to respond naturally. And this creates confusion. Because you know more than before, but you still cannot use it. This is where you need to understand something clearly. Your problem is not a lack of knowledge. Your problem is a lack of training. Right now, your brain is full of information, but it is not trained to use that information quickly. It's like having all the tools, but not knowing how to use them in real time. You have learned English in a way that focuses on understanding, not responding. You can recognize words. You can understand sentences. You can follow conversations. But when it's your turn to speak, your brain freezes. Because it has not been trained for speed. It has been trained for thinking. And thinking is slow. Speaking needs something different. It needs automatic response. It needs quick access. It needs flow. But your brain is not used to that yet. It is used to stopping, analyzing, and building. And that is why you feel stuck, even after learning so much. Think about any skill in life. You don't become fast by only learning theory. You become fast by practicing in real conditions, by repeating again and again until your brain stops thinking and starts reacting. Speaking works the same way. You don't need more rules. You don't need more complicated lessons. You need to train your brain to use what it already knows, without delay. Right now, your knowledge is locked behind hesitation. You know the words, but you cannot access them quickly. You understand the language, but you cannot express it naturally. And that gap is not about learning more. It is about using more. The moment you shift your focus, everything begins to change. Instead of asking, "What should I learn next?" you start asking, "How can I use what I already know?" faster. Instead of collecting more information, you start activating it. You speak more. You respond quicker. You allow yourself to use simple English without overthinking. And slowly, your brain adapts. It becomes faster. It becomes more confident. It becomes more natural. Because now, you are not just learning English. You are training your brain to speak it. And that is the real difference. Because fluency does not come from how much you know. It comes from how easily you can use what you know, in the moment, without stopping, without fear, without thinking too much. And once your brain is trained that way, speaking stops feeling difficult. It starts feeling natural, effortless, and real. There is one thing your brain needs more than anything else, and it is not more knowledge, not more rules, not more explanations. It is repetition. Not the kind of repetition where you just read or listen again and again, but the kind where you actually use the language, again and again, in real time. Because your brain does not become natural through understanding. It becomes natural through doing. Right now, you understand a lot. You recognize words. You follow conversations. You know what people are saying. But your speaking still feels slow because your brain is not used to producing English quickly. It is used to thinking about English, not using it. And that is why repetition is so powerful. Every time you speak, even a simple sentence, you are teaching your brain something important. You are telling it, "This is normal. This is safe. This is how we respond." At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your words may come out slowly. Your sentences may feel incomplete. You may hesitate. But that is part of the process. Because your brain is adjusting. It is moving from thinking mode to action mode. And that shift does not happen instantly. It happens through repetition. The more you speak, the less you think. The less you think, the faster you become. The faster you become, the more natural you feel. And slowly, something powerful begins to happen. Your brain stops searching for every word. It starts remembering patterns. It begins to recognize what sounds right without needing to check. It starts responding automatically, without stopping. And that is when speaking becomes smooth. Not because you learned something new, but because you repeated what you already knew. Enough times for it to become automatic. Think about how you learned anything in life. You didn't become comfortable by doing it once. You repeated it, again and again, until it became natural. Speaking works the same way. You cannot think your way into fluency. You have to repeat your way into it. But here is where most people make a mistake. They don't repeat speaking. They repeat studying. They watch more videos. They read more lessons. They memorize more words.
but they don't actually use the language enough. And because of that, their brain never gets trained for real speaking. It stays in learning mode, instead of moving into using mode. The truth is simple. Repetition builds speed. Repetition builds confidence. Repetition builds natural flow. Not perfect repetition, not controlled repetition. Real repetition. Speaking again, even if it's simple. Speaking again, even if it's not perfect. Speaking again, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because every time you do it, your brain gets stronger. Your hesitation becomes smaller. Your pauses become shorter. Your voice becomes more confident. And one day, without even realizing it, you will notice something different. You will respond faster. You will speak without thinking too much. You will express yourself more freely. And it will feel natural. Not because you tried harder, but because you repeated enough. Because your brain finally learned that speaking English is not something to think about. It is something to do. And once that happens, fluency is no longer something you are chasing. It becomes something you are living. There is something that feels comfortable to you, something that feels safe, and because of that, you keep going back to it again and again. Even when you learn a better way, even when you understand what you should do, you still return to your old habits. You go back to thinking too much. You go back to building sentences. You go back to checking everything before you speak. And the reason is simple. It feels familiar. It feels controlled.
It feels like you are avoiding mistakes. But that comfort is exactly what is keeping you stuck. Because growth does not happen inside comfort. It happens the moment you step outside of it. Right now, your mind is choosing safety over progress. It prefers slow, careful speaking instead of fast, natural speaking. It prefers thinking instead of reacting. It prefers silence instead of risk. And slowly, this becomes your pattern. You know what to do, but you don't do it. You understand the problem, but you don't change the habit. Because deep inside, your brain is trying to protect you. It wants to avoid embarrassment. It wants to avoid mistakes. It wants to keep you in a place where nothing feels uncomfortable. But here is the truth you need to accept. Every time you choose comfort, you choose to stay the same.
Every time you avoid discomfort, you delay your growth. Because real progress always feels uncomfortable at first. When you try to speak faster, it feels messy. When you stop overthinking, it feels risky. When you speak without being fully ready, it feels strange. And your mind will tell you, this is wrong. Go back to what feels safe. But that voice is not helping you. It is holding you back. Because fluency is not built in safe moments. It is built in those uncomfortable seconds. When you speak anyway. When your sentence is not perfect, but you say it. When your voice feels unsure, but you continue. When your mind wants to stop you, but you move forward. Those are the moments where change happens. Those are the moments where your brain starts to rewire. Slowly, it begins to understand that speaking is not dangerous.
It is not something to fear. It is something normal. And the more you stay in that uncomfortable space, the more comfortable it becomes. What once felt difficult starts to feel easier. What once felt risky starts to feel natural. And what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. But this only happens if you stop going back to your comfort zone. Because your comfort zone is not helping you grow. It is only keeping you where you already are. The moment you choose growth over comfort, everything begins to shift. Your speaking improves. Your confidence rises. Your fear starts to fade. And slowly, you become someone who is no longer controlled by hesitation, or fear, or the need to feel safe. You become someone who speaks, even when it's uncomfortable. And that is the moment your progress becomes real.
Because the path to fluency is not comfortable, but it is worth it. And once you walk that path, even a little, you will never want to go back to staying stuck again. There is a moment that you keep waiting for, a moment where everything feels right, a moment where your sentence is clear, your grammar feels correct, your confidence feels strong. You tell yourself, I will speak when I feel ready. But that moment never truly comes, because your mind will always find a reason to delay. It will say, wait a little more. Think one more time. Fix this first. Be sure before you speak. And because of that, you keep postponing your voice. You stay silent for one more second, then another, until the conversation moves forward and your chance is gone. And this keeps happening again and again. Not because you don't know what to say, but because you are waiting to feel ready before saying it. But here is the truth you need to understand deeply. You don't become ready before speaking. You become ready by speaking. Readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you create through action. Every fluent speaker you see today was once unsure. They didn't feel ready. They didn't feel confident. They didn't feel perfect. But they spoke anyway. And that is why they improved. Because every time you speak, even when you feel unprepared, you send a powerful signal to your brain. You tell it, this is normal, this is safe, this is okay. And slowly, your fear starts to fade. Your hesitation becomes weaker. Your confidence begins to grow. But if you keep waiting, your brain learns the opposite. It learns that speaking is something you should delay. It learns that you are not ready. It learns that silence is safer. And that belief becomes stronger every day. That is why waiting is dangerous. Because it feels like preparation. But it is actually avoidance. It feels like you are getting better. But you are staying in the same place. The moment you change this, everything shifts. The moment you speak before you feel ready, you break the cycle. Your voice comes out faster. Your mind has less time to interfere. Your words begin to flow more naturally. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your sentence may not be perfect. Your words may feel simple. Your voice may feel uncertain. But that is exactly where growth begins. Because in that moment, you are no longer controlled by hesitation. You are taking action. And action builds momentum. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you speak early, the less you need to think. The less you think, the more natural your speaking becomes. And slowly, something powerful happens. The moment you once feared becomes normal. Speaking without being ready becomes your strength. And one day, you will notice something surprising. You are no longer waiting. You are responding. You are no longer hesitating. You are speaking. Not because you finally felt ready, but because you stopped waiting for readiness and started trusting yourself enough to speak anyway. Right now, you are waiting for confidence to come first. You believe that one day, something will change inside you. You will feel more sure. You will feel more comfortable. You will feel more confident. And then, you will finally start speaking. But that is not how it works. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. It is the result, not the starting point. Think about it honestly. Every time you stayed silent, did your confidence grow? Every time you avoided speaking, did you feel stronger? No. In fact, the opposite happened. The more you avoided speaking, the more your fear increased. The more you stayed quiet, the more difficult it felt to speak the next time. Because your brain was learning something. It was learning that speaking is something to avoid. It was learning that silence is safer, and that belief slowly became stronger. But the moment you take action, even a small one, everything begins to change. The first time you speak, it may feel uncomfortable. Your voice may feel shaky. Your words may not come out perfectly. Your mind may still try to interrupt you. But you spoke. And that moment matters more than you think. Because now, your brain has a new experience. It sees that nothing bad happened. It sees that you were able to express something. It sees that speaking is possible. And that small success starts building something inside you. That is confidence. Not a feeling that appears suddenly, but a result of repeated action. Every time you speak, you add one small layer, one small proof, one small reminder that you can do this. And over time, those small moments start to connect. Your hesitation becomes weaker. Your voice becomes steadier. Your responses become faster. And slowly, you begin to feel different. Not because you waited for confidence, but because you created it. This is where many people misunderstand the process. They sit and wait, hoping confidence will come. But confidence is built in movement, in speaking when it feels uncomfortable, in expressing even when it feels imperfect, in continuing even when your mind tells you to stop. Because every action sends a message to your brain. It says, "I can do this." And the more you repeat that message, the stronger it becomes. Until one day, you no longer feel that fear. You no longer feel that hesitation. You open your mouth, and words come out more easily. Not because everything is perfect, but because you trust yourself. And that trust is real confidence. It is not loud. It is not forced. It is quiet, stable, and natural. And it comes from one simple thing. Not waiting, but doing. Again and again, until your mind stops doubting and starts believing. And once that belief is there, your speaking begins to change. It becomes smoother. It becomes faster. It becomes real. Because now, you are no longer waiting to feel confident. You are speaking and letting confidence grow with you. Step by step, word by word. There comes a moment, very quiet, almost unnoticeable, where everything begins to change. Not because you learned something new. Not because your grammar suddenly became perfect. Not because your vocabulary doubled overnight. But because you stopped doing something that was holding you back all along. You stopped building. For so long, every time you wanted to speak, you were trying to construct the perfect sentence. You were planning your words. You were checking your grammar.
You were fixing your ideas before they even came out. And that habit made everything feel heavy. It slowed your thoughts. It blocked your voice. It created pressure in every conversation. But the moment you begin to let go of that habit, even a little, something shifts. You don't wait as long before speaking. You don't check every word. You don't try to make everything perfect. You just say it. And at first, it may feel strange. Your sentences may be simple. Your words may not be perfect. Your voice may feel slightly unsure. But there is something different. There is movement. There is flow. There is freedom. For the first time, you are not stopping yourself. You are allowing your thoughts to turn into words, without building them step by step. And that changes everything, because the weight disappears.
The pressure fades. The hesitation becomes smaller. And your speaking begins to feel lighter, faster, more natural. You are no longer fighting your own mind. You are no longer trying to control every word. You are simply expressing what you want to say, in the moment, without delay. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. You were never truly stuck. You were never lacking ability. You were just holding yourself back, with the habit of building everything perfectly. The moment that habit starts to break, your natural ability begins to come out. Your brain stops overworking. Your voice starts flowing. Your confidence rises. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything feels easier. And slowly, something deeper changes. You stop seeing English as something difficult.
You stop feeling pressure when it's time to speak. You stop overthinking every sentence. Instead, you begin to trust yourself. You trust that your words will come. You trust that you can express your idea, even if it's simple. You trust that you don't need to be perfect to be understood. And that trust gives you freedom. Freedom to speak. Freedom to continue. Freedom to be present in the conversation instead of being stuck in your head. And that is the moment everything opens up. You are no longer trying to speak English. You are just speaking. Naturally. Freely. Without fear. Not because you became perfect, but because you finally stopped holding yourself back. And once you feel that, even for a moment, you will never want to go back to the old way again. Because now, you understand the truth.
Fluency was never something you needed to build. It was something you needed to allow. And the moment you allow it, your voice becomes yours again. There is something you need to accept, not as a theory, but as a truth. You were never as far behind as you thought. All this time, you believed you needed more grammar, more vocabulary, more preparation. But the truth is, you already had enough. What you didn't have was trust. Trust in your own voice. Trust in your own words. Trust that what you know is enough to begin. You were not blocked because you lacked English. You were blocked because you were holding it back. Every time you stopped yourself, every time you waited, every time you tried to be perfect, you created distance between your thoughts and your voice. And that distance made you feel like you were not fluent. But now you see it differently. Fluency is not something far away. It is not something you reach after years. It begins the moment you stop stopping yourself. The moment you allow your words to come out, even if they are simple, even if they are not perfect. That is where real speaking begins. You don't need to sound advanced. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to express. Because language was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to connect, to share, to respond, to be real. And the more you allow yourself to speak, the more natural it becomes. The more natural it becomes, the more confident you feel. And the more confident you feel, the more your voice starts to flow without effort. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait to feel fully ready. Don't wait until everything sounds right in your head. Because that moment will keep moving further away. Instead, start now. Speak with what you have. Use what you know. Allow your voice to come out without holding it back. Because the truth is simple. You don't need to become someone else to speak English. You just need to stop stopping yourself. And the moment you do that, even a little, you will feel it. Your words will come easier. Your mind will feel lighter. Your voice will feel more natural. And for the first time, you will realize something powerful. You were never broken. You were just holding yourself back. And now, you finally know how to let go.
If something in this video made you pause, made you realize, this is exactly what I've been doing, then don't let this just be another video you watched and forgot. Because awareness without action changes nothing. Right now, you have a choice. You can go back to the same habit, building sentences, overthinking, staying silent, or you can start changing it today.
Start small. Speak one sentence without overthinking. Respond once without waiting to feel ready. Allow your voice to come out, even if it's not perfect. That's how this begins. And if you truly want to break this habit, if you want to train your brain to speak naturally, without translating, without freezing, then stay with me. Because on this channel, the Fluency Reset, we are not just learning English, we are rebuilding the way your mind uses it. Step by step, we remove hesitation. Step by step, we build natural flow. Step by step, we turn thinking into speaking. So you don't just understand English, you live it. You speak it, you become it. Subscribe now and start your reset today. Because the longer you wait, the longer your voice stays stuck. And you already know, it's time to let it out.